welcome to Yoga and Immunity Resilience Week 2. We're going to be looking today at the lymphatic system and the effects that the lymphatic system have on your immune system and your ability to fight infections. So we will start with a little introduction. I'm going to ask you to lie down. If you would like to lie on your back with your knees bent, your feet about hip distance apart, your arms resting down beside you, or on your stomach, whichever you prefer, but just to close your eyes. And this will just give us a moment to settle and to enable you to connect in with how you're feeling before we start the session. So I'm going to give you a short introduction on what we're going to be doing today. We'll then focus on a warm-up, which will take about 15 minutes, and that will focus particularly on the positioning of the lymph glands of the lymph nodes and what we can do to start to get some movement there. Then we will do yoga poses that are said to be very beneficial for the functioning of the lymphatic system. And then when we do our relaxation, we will look again at lots of alternatives out there to help you keep your lymphatic system moving and working effectively. So hopefully you're lying down comfortably now. I shall begin. And the importance of a well-functioning lymphatic system. So lymph is similar to blood in that they're both liquids circulating in your body, but the similarity stops there. Blood has a pump, the heart, to move it around your system. The lymphatic system has no pump. So at the end of the day, it's your movements that are going to move that lymph, and that's why our increasingly sedentary lifestyle hasn't helped the functioning of our lymphatic system and therefore our immune system. We've been shut in for large periods of time. So lymph is mainly water. Its job really, it's your body's liquid rubbish bin. So it picks up waste products formed from all the chemical reactions needed to keep you alive, and it ushers them gently out of the body. And we are exposed, unfortunately, to chemicals within our environment, whether that's in our home or outside, which also need to be removed from our body before they cause us any problems. You are stacked, however, with lots of lymph hardware in your system. So you have the vessels, which are weaved through every single cell of your body into your tissues and your organs. You then have the lymph nodes or lymph glands that are positioned as checkpoints really to remove the dead and dying immune cells that have already done their job fighting the infection or in the heat of doing so. And then you have the lymph organs like your tonsils, your thymus gland, which we'll have a look at today, and your spleen that basically serve as immune cell factories. And then about 80% of your immune system does reside in your gut, so it's important that we study the functioning of the gut, and we'll be looking at that next week in terms of the digestive system. So think about the lymphatic system as a series of little streams, little springs that run into a smaller river and then into a big river and then out into the big wide world. Hopefully the lymphatic system is flowing freely. If it gets stagnant or blocked, then we have the troubles ahead of us. So what I would like you to do is to focus just on allowing yourself to breathe relatively slowly and calmly. In your handout, we will talk more about the issues that we can have with our lymphatic systems, but let's crack on now with doing a yoga warm-up. So basically we're focusing today on inversions, and inversions reverse the gravitational force, which is always sending lymph down to our feet. And if you're doing a lot of sitting at a desk or driving in a car, the lymph is going to pull within your ankles. You're going to get puffy feet, behind your knees, and maybe into the pelvis itself, causing congestion in both the digestive and the elimination system. So you are hopefully now ready to start with your warm-up. So if you'd like to draw your knees in towards your chest, I'm going to join in with this for you so that you can see the instructions if you're not familiar. With the knees up towards the chest, you're going to take the knees wide, and you're going to have a flollop, which means you cross or rock from one elbow across to the other. And as you do so, you're just sending a little bit of blood down into your spine, into the muscles of the back of the body, and beginning to warm yourself up. Once you've done that a couple of times, bring yourself back to the centre. The first thing I'd like to look at is the lymph glands that are up in the feet and ankles. So if you straighten your right leg along the mat and unfurl your left leg in the air, you might want to just warm the hamstring up. So rub behind your thigh. You're going to hold either above or below your knee. And you're going to think about that ankle movement, turning your foot in both directions. And you know from being on a long haul flight that the lymph collects in your ankles, so it's really important to do this movement when you're sitting on a plane for many hours, but also to do it sitting at your desks. Not when you're driving your car, but if you stop, then again you can move the ankles. It's important to get the lymph there, and because we've got the foot up in the air now, that lymph is draining down from the ankles. The next position we're going to look at for lymph glands and noses behind the knee. So if you bend and straighten the leg, you're starting to pump that lymph into those areas. But then if you circle the lower part of your leg, so just the lower leg, your hip's not moving, but you're just circling the lower leg, again in both directions, you're starting to move that lymph from behind the knee. And then with your leg a little bit straight with the foot flexed, you can just encourage that left thigh in towards you. We're just warming up the hamstring for some of the poses that we're going to be doing later. So if you now replace that left foot on the floor and take your right leg up. And again, I'd like you to think about that right ankle, the lymph glands there in the ankle, and circle your foot. Nice and slowly, as big a circle as you can manage. You can move the toes as well. And think about the lymph flowing down from the feet. If you've been doing a lot of sitting, then bend the knee and straighten the leg. And then with the knee bent, just circling from the knee down to the foot. So the ankle doesn't need to circle, it can if you want to as well, but you're just moving through that knee joint. Okay, we're going to, again, just stretch that right hamstring, draw the foot flexed and draw the right leg towards you a little bit. And then we're going to go back to hugging both knees in, a hand on each knee. So lymph glands, a lot of them in the groins, as we call it, in the pelvis. So what we need to do is to circle the knees inwards and outwards. This is not a position you do very often. You might be a swimmer, so you might do this in breaststroke, but most of the day your legs are in the one position in front of your body, whether you're sitting or standing. So nice gentle circles. It gives you a chance to notice if your hips feeling a little tight, and then reverse the direction. So again, think about the lymph glands there that we're starting to move. Everything we need to do with it involves movement. Okay, we'll bring the feet to the floor and have your feet about hip distance apart. Just move my blanket out of the way. And relatively close into your sitting bones, depending on how that feels. I'd like to take the opportunity just to stretch your neck out while you're here. So lift your head up in your hands and lengthen your neck. And as you replace it back on the floor, it should be another centimetre longer. Hands are down beside you at this stage. So feel a sense of balance between the right and the left foot. We're going to start now to focus again on the lymph in the pelvis, but also in the stomach. So if we push the knees forward and lift the bottom up, we are now allowing that lymph from the hips and the stomach to run down, to move down to the upper part of your body. As I've said earlier, most of the lymph ends up at your feet if you're doing a lot of sitting. So this is a lovely back bend. It's also an inversion. It's the bridge pose. Stimulates the thyroid if you want to bring your chest up more towards your chin. And maybe you want to slide your hands underneath you, link your fingers together, and try and straighten your arms. And then if we moved up a little bit into those lymph glands in the armpits, we'll sweep our arms out like snow angel wings and bring our hands up above us so the backs of the hands hopefully rest somewhere near the floor. And we're opening up now into the armpits, lots of lymph glands in the armpits, and also in the upper chest around the collarbones, which we'll focus on a bit later. So let's slowly bring ourselves down. I'd like to just do our favourite hip stretch because it's a shame not to. Bring the left ankle, cross it over the right thigh. Option 1, left hand on the left knee, press that towards the end of your mat. Option 2, pick up your right thigh with both hands and hug that in towards your chest. Chin drops down, shoulders relax. Nice steady breath. As you encourage that right thigh in, you're going to feel a stretch into your left hip. And then I'd like you to swap that over, so your left foot comes to the floor, your right ankle crosses over your left thigh. Option 1, you press your right hand onto your right knee and draw that away. And option 2, you pick up the left thigh with both hands and you draw that left thigh towards you. Relax your shoulders, ungrit your teeth. Listen to what your right hip has to say. And feel that connection between your hips and your lower back. Again, release both feet to the floor. Let's just do a little windscreen wiper twist. So I've got my arms out to the side, feet on the floor with the knees bent. And I'm going to move my knees to the left and my head to the right. And then I'm going to bring them back to the centre. I'm going to move my knees to the right and my head to the left. They're giving me an indication if one side is tighter than the other. I'm going to repeat that twice more. I could exhale as the knees go across. And inhale as the knees come up. And again, exhale as the knees go across. And inhale as the knees come up. I'm going to hug the knees back into the chest once more. Little frolic from side to side. And then I'm going to roll myself either onto the right hand side or roll myself up into sitting. Okay, so we're going to move now just a little bit more into thinking about the lymph glands through the armpits. So, you know, anything that you can do to keep that shoulder mobile is going to start to move the lymph into that armpit area. So have a little backstroke, front crawl kind of movement with your arms. And then think the lymph glands in your neck are probably the ones you're most familiar with, because if you do have any type of upper respiratory tract infection, quite often you feel these lymph glands here are quite hard, quite painful. That basically means they're doing their job. So you can massage them. You could massage a little bit of tea tree oil neat into your lymph glands. But the other thing you want to do is to just keep your neck moving so everything has a chance to be moved around the body. So little half circles with your head, little ear to shoulder move that we looked at last week. You can add your hands for a little extra release there. Chin to chest, stretching through the back of the neck, and then not forgetting to draw your head up to look towards the ceiling. Circling the shoulders again, and then thinking also about the lymph glands in the elbows and the wrists. So you can do what I call a little flamenco dancing impression, turning the wrists, moving the hands as if you're grabbing something, and then the arms all the way up and then all the way back down. So you're moving into the elbows and the fingers. You know, every single joint in the body has got a natural range of movement, and we've just got to keep everything moving. It's the old move it or lose it. Okay, so we're going to start on our yoga poses. We're going to do the cat pose just as our last warm-up, just because it's a brilliant pose to do for just about everything. So on your hands and knees, I'm just moving my cushion there. Make sure that your fingers are spread and the weight is not in your wrists. It needs to be forward into your hands. Elbows are slightly softened, and you're going to focus on all 24 of your vertebrae, from the tip of your tail to the top of your head. The first shape we call downward cat, so you're tucking under. Your kind of middle back bra strap's going towards the ceiling. And then the second shape we call upward cat is when you're lifting your head forward and up and your tail backwards and up. And you're just allowing your spine to lengthen. Your gaze point is up towards the ceiling, but you're not throwing your head back, and your shoulders are staying completely neutral. And then you can add the breath in. So as you exhale, you tuck under. And as you inhale, you lift up. You might want to add a little bit of abdominal tone in. So at the end of that exhale, you squeeze your navel up. You might engage your pelvic floor. Want to find that balance between all 4 points of contact on the floor. So if you close your eyes, you might be able to focus a little bit more on that. Let's do one more, finishing on an exhale. And then allow your arms to reach forward as far as they'll go, and bring your head down towards the floor. So child's pose is an inversion. It's perfectly brilliant for working the lymphatic system, because the lymph from your pelvis now is coming down into your armpits, into your neck. If you want to go a little deeper, you drop your bottom back to your heels. You get that lovely stretch in your lower back as well. Keep your shoulders relaxed, but keep stretching your arms forward. Stay here for a moment or two. And then very gently, very slowly, if you have low blood pressure, bring yourself back up to either kneeling or on all fours. We're going to focus now on the downward facing dog. So as I've said, inversions are the best poses to work the lymphatic system, because if the lymph's been at the feet all day, turn the body upside down, the lymph's going to drain out of the feet, and then when you come back upright, everything's going to wash through all those lymph nodes or lymph glands. So in the downward facing dog, we're going to be taking one of the legs up in the air as an option. If it's bothering you with the wrist, come down onto your forearms. But if we take one of the legs up, we've got the opportunity to drain the lymph there. You can also bend the knee and kind of, I call it the dog wing up the tree pose, cock your leg out. So you're opening up into the front of the pelvis and the lymph glands there. So we'll do that together. If you want to stop the video and play with it a little bit longer, you can, or you can rewind and come back to where we are. So, fingers spread again, hands balanced, tuck the toes underneath you, lift up from your tailbone and bring your head down in between your arms, so you're looking at your feet. So currently the inversion of the lymph is obviously from the pelvis, but the legs are still on the floor. So absolutely fine to stay here and just gently walk on the spot, keep your shoulders relaxed. You might want to use the opportunity now to move your head again and release any tension in your neck. And then if it feels safe to do so, you take one leg up in the air. So you're getting that lymph down from the ankle there. A little bit more work on the arms needed. Bend the knee if you want to and literally cock your leg out. So you're stretching into the front of the groin as well. Sorry, I'm eating my necklace here. And then replace that leg down. If you need to come down for a rest, come down for a moment. Otherwise, have another couple of breaths in your four-legged down dog before you go for the other leg. Turn it into a three-legged. And then again, you can bend the knee and cock your leg out. And if you're near enough a wall, you can put your feet on the wall and come into a half handstand. Then back down slowly onto your knees and into child's pose. So taking a couple of breaths there until you slowly, again, bring your head up last of all into kneeling. So we're going to come up into standing, tucking the toes underneath. This is a little stretching to the arches of the feet, and then bring yourself into a standing position. So what I'd like you to do, I'm just going to move slightly back here, is to do a standing forward bend. Now, it depends really on where you have your legs. You can have them wide, you can have them together. I'm going to go for about hip distance apart. Okay, so once I get my head down below my heart, then I'm starting the inversion process. So the knees can be soft. I'm just going to allow my arms to dangle. I'm going to allow my head to start to drop. I'm just coming slightly away from the wall. And it doesn't matter how low I go. Once I've got my head down, then at least I'm starting to move the lymph in the upper part of the body. And I might just add the extra bonus in now, linking my fingers together behind me, lifting my arms up. So I've got the opportunity to open into the armpits as well. You don't have to do that, you can leave your arms dangling down. And just allow yourself a few moments here. This is a great one to do literally if you need a little bit of a brain feed as well mid-afternoon, if you're a little bit tired or if you've been sitting and your back is stiff. But also it's a great way to move the lymph. Let's go for a couple more breaths. And then keeping the knees soft, very slowly and very gently coming up. Really important not to pop up like a jack-in-the-box in these forward bends. So we're going to have a look at the thymus gland and some acupressure points now that we can do to stimulate the immune system. You can do this sitting if you prefer, but I just think it's quite energising to do it standing. So we're going to adopt the poses of the primate family, so the gorillas and the monkeys, and obviously Tarzan adopted that as well. And what I find fascinating is that intuitively these animals know what is beneficial to their lymphatic system. So you've got lymph glands just below your collarbones here, you've got your thymus gland here at the centre of your chest, and you will get a handout on this with pictures and illustrations on how to do it. You've got spleen points according to acupressure and acupuncture here, just at the second rib on the side, so you can normally feel it feels a little bit tender. And then, as I said, you've got these points all over the chest. So you can start literally just by tapping here to stimulate the lymph. You could tap underneath your armpits. You could kind of gently punch underneath your armpits very lightly. You could do the same with your spleen point here. And you can also do the same, I just need to move my necklace, with the thymus gland here. And there are a couple of other points that I've given you handouts on. But basically, you're turning yourself into Tarzan. And this is a great thing to do if you just feel you're going down with something a bit respiratory. Do it first thing in the morning. You know, you can even tap them in your neck as well. You could even tap them in the groin if you wanted to. Behind the knees, you know, in the elbows, anywhere you think. But think, learn where the locations of the lymph glands and nodes are. And again, move the energy there. Okay, so we're going to come down into sitting. I know it feels ridiculous, but it's very good for you, so why would you not do that? Okay, so our next pose that we're going to look at is again another inverted pose, and it's known as the second most important pose in yoga, so it's called the shoulder stand. But we're going to do it modified today with the wall. So I'll give you a moment to have a look around the room, and hopefully you've got a wall. I think I mentioned that in the introduction. So bring your mat as close to the wall as you're able to. You might want a blanket just to put under your head, but it's not necessary. If you're on carpet, you've probably got a little bit more padding than I have here on the yoga studio floor. So to get into this pose can be a little ungainly. So maybe it's a good idea if you watch me first, and then I'll talk you through it again. So I'm going bottom sideways on, then I'm rolling down onto my back, and then I'm kind of bottom shuffling myself round until I get myself into legs up the wall position. I'll show you the shoulder stand and then I'm going to talk you through it again because I don't want you to keep looking around at the camera once you're up in it. So feet on the wall, push the feet into the wall, the bottom should lift and you hold on to your bottom. This is known as half shoulder stand. So we're inverting at least 2/3 of the body. If you want to encourage a little bit more, you're going to take one leg at a time off the wall. Depending on how confident you feel, you slide your arms underneath you, holding onto your hips, and then you let both legs come up. And if you want to stretch your back and the back of your legs, you could bring your legs over into plough, but obviously that's not going to give you as much lymphatic drainage as if you're up in shoulder stand. You then pop your feet on the wall and slowly lower down. So if you would like to join me now in legs up the wall pose first, I'll give you a moment to do that. You might again want to go through that lovely lengthening of the neck. You really want your bottom as close to the wall as you can get it. So sometimes it is a bit faffy to get there, but it's worth it. Okay, so bottom cheek next to the wall, lie down and then bottom shuffle round so you've got your legs on the wall. And even if you just lie with your legs on the wall with your arms up above you, maybe you could just put a cushion underneath your bottom. This is a beautiful pose for helping flow the lymph down from the feet, knees, pelvis, and down through the body. Just having a cushion underneath your bottom is enough. So if you don't want to do the shoulder stand for whatever reason, neck issues, shoulder issues, wrong time of the month, you could just do that as an alternative. So your feet then come to the wall. Hopefully there's nothing around you that you're going to kick by mistake and knock over. Push your feet into the wall, lift your bottom up, take your hands underneath your bottom for support. Skedaddle your elbows in a little bit. Try to engage your core, particularly if you feel that that's going to be helpful to support your back. So draw your navel into your spine. Hopefully you haven't had a big meal. And stay here, maybe. Lift one leg off. See how that feels. Swap over. Lift the other leg off. See how that feels. Only if you feel that you've got that confidence, you're holding tight onto your hips, your elbows are fairly closed into your rib cage, do you take both legs up in the air and balance here. Play with it. It's just a game. It's probably a long time since you went upside down, but think about the benefits this is having through the lymphatic system, the digestive system as well, because everything's slightly moving, and also the thyroid gland at the front of your throat, and that lovely, lovely amount of blood and energy going down into your neck and shoulders. Don't move your head from side to side. Keep looking directly in between your legs. So let's slowly take the hands out of the way and lower your back down. You should feel as if your back has had a bit of a stretch. And then let your feet stay on the wall for a moment.
If you want to have your arms down beside you, you can, and you're happy to draw them up above you, that too is also fine. So once you've recovered from your half shoulder stand, you by all means can stop the video and repeat it. If not, then let's bring the knees in. Let's roll to one side or the other and come slowly up onto hands and knees. So I'm going to use a blanket for this next pose because we're going to have our arms on the floor, and sometimes you can get a little bit of pressure in your elbow. So we're going to do a pose called the dolphin, then we're going to look at a pose called the rabbit, and then we'll look at a modified version of the headstand pose because that is the #1 pose in terms of the benefits it's going to have on all systems of the body, not just the lymphatic system. So if you think of the kids' nursery rhyme, here is the church, here is the steeple, press your palms together, leave your little fingers touching, link the middle 3 and leave your thumbs. So your hands will then come on the floor and your elbows will be directly underneath your shoulders and your knees will be underneath your hips. So it's very similar to cat pose, but you're on your forearms with your fingers linked. So imagine the dolphin moving through the water. I'll demonstrate it first. The first move is to go forward towards the floor. You may or may not reach the floor. And the second move is to go backwards, bringing your forehead through to the floor. Again, you may or may not reach. So you inhale to move forward and you exhale to move back. Try and watch as you join in with this now that your elbows don't start to splay wider than your shoulders. Inhale forward, protect your back. As you exhale going back, squeeze your navel in. I'm going to do 3 more. Inhale forward, exhale back, check those elbows. Try not to go white knuckle with your hands either, keep those soft. Inhale forward, exhale back. We're going to actually do 1 more. Inhale forward, exhale back. So we've got half of our inversion, haven't we? We've got the bottom above the head. So you've got a choice to do another few of those, let's say between 1 and 6, or trying some off your knees. So you've got a little bit more of an inversion now. Again, inhale forward, exhale back. So choose which level you're going to do. It's considerably more interesting on your shoulders when you lift your knees. Please don't strain as you do that. But it is a great way to strengthen your shoulders and your upper body in general. And when you've finished, just gently come back onto your knees. Okay, so the next pose we're going to look at is the rabbit pose. So this used to give me the giggles when I was a beginner, so I thought it looked like one of those rabbit jelly molds that used to get blancmange in, but I've matured a bit since then. So I want you to imagine that you've got a rabbit hole in front of you, and basically you're going to put the top of your head down the rabbit hole. So your bottom will be above your head. So again, we're getting an inversion. We're stimulating the acupressure points in the top of the head, the thyroid, the pineal, the pituitary gland. And what we're going to start to do then is to, almost as if we're going to do a forwards roll, we're starting to roll slightly more to the back of our head by walking our knees forwards. I'm going to show you before you have a go. So my head is down, put my hands on the floor. If I prefer, I could put my elbows on the floor. And then, I don't want to tread on my hair, but I'm just rolling a little bit. My voice is getting a bit funny. I'm walking my knees in. I can do that whichever position suits me. If I want to, I can take my hands away. What's really, 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 really important, that was a lot of reallys, is you don't come straight up. Okay, so I can make a fist, 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. Then come onto your elbows, 5 potato, 6 potato, 7 potato more. Okay, so let's have a go at that together. You shouldn't have a lot of weight in your head. Mainly it should be in your arms and in your legs. Okay, don't hold it for too long. If it makes you feel dizzy or lightheaded, you might need to get your neck checked out, make sure that it's in good alignment with an osteopath. So let's start on the forearms. Imagine the rabbit hole in front of you. Put the top of your head down the rabbit hole. That might be all that you want to do today. Just get used to having the top of your head on the surface of the earth. But again, think about the lymph that's moving from your pelvis down into your upper back, neck and shoulders. If you want to try now moving a little bit more to the back of your head, you can walk your knees forward. So you're not actually going to do a forwards roll, but that's what it feels like. And if you feel you wanted to move your hands back and just have your hands on the floor, you can probably edge yourself a little deeper. So your beautiful stretch to the back of your neck. This pose is very good for migraines induced by neck tension. You can keep your hands on the floor, you can take them off and rest them on your thighs. Just allow yourself to breathe here. Very gently and slowly, bring yourself up, put one fist on top of the other in front of you and rest your forehead on those fists. You can count 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. And then slowly bring your head up a little higher and bring your elbows to the mat and put your chin on your hands. That can be your 5 potato, 6 potato. And then hopefully the blood and the lymph has settled now and you can come back up into sitting. Okay. So we're going to focus now on headstand, a variation of headstand. We're not going to take both legs off the floor, onto the wall. We're just going to work one leg at a time, very similar to what we did in the downward facing dog. If you have a neck issue, high blood pressure, then I'm suggesting you probably miss this one out. Maybe repeat the rabbit pose or go back to the dolphin or go back to the downward dog. So my hands are in the same position as they were with dolphin, which is why when you practice dolphin pose and you get your arms stronger, there's less pressure then on your neck, on your head. So my arms come down, but this time I open my hands. If you'd like to watch me first, I just keep on the top of my head as I bring my hands in. I don't want my elbows to go wide again. So I can stay here with both knees on the floor, very similar to rabbit. Or, similar to dolphin, I can lift the knees off. So I've increased the upside downness. And if I want to, similar to the three-legged down dog, I could lift one leg up and then swap over and lift the other leg up. Okay, I'm not going to teach headstand online. That's the only thing I do live in person so I can support people. Same principle, you come up with your 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4, nice and slowly. Okay, so let's have a little play with a modified headstand. So again, the fingers, maybe link the fingers the other way. That's a habit that we have. Little fingers are down. Forearms on the floor, the elbows need to be shoulder distance apart. You part the hands, you put the top of the head, not your forehead, not the back, the top of your head in that little cup that you've made, and clasp your hands around your head. Watch the elbows don't start to splay out. Stay on your knees for a moment, a bit like rabbit. Get used to this sensation. Children love standing on their heads. They absolutely love it. Adults are normally terrified. So then walk your knees in a little bit, tuck your toes underneath you, experiment, push into your arms, not your head, and see if you can lift your knees off. If you can't do that, bring your knees back down again. Just as good. If you're happy here and the weight's not in your head, you come as long as lifting it off the floor, the weight's more in your arms, then take one leg directly up in the air. Relax your shoulders, don't grit your teeth. Swap that leg over and press the other one up towards the ceiling. And again, bring both feet down. Bring both knees down. Start to slowly lift your head and place your fists underneath your forehead. And then I'd like you to take it now into child's pose. This time your arms are going to come around behind you with the backs of your hands facing up. Your forehead is going to be on the floor. Your bottom may or may not be down on your heels, but I'd like you to stay here now in your child's pose for a couple of moments. Child's pose is very, very, very restorative as well. Really good for you. So while you're in child pose now, I'm just going to bring my crystal, allow yourself to breathe in a relaxed manner. Feel that lovely openness through the ribcage on the inhale and that gentle softness of everything in the back of the body on the exhale. And when you're ready, come up again very slowly from your child's pose and take yourself back down onto your back, please. So on your back with your Feet about hip distance apart. If you have a bolster, you might want to slide that bolster underneath your knees. I'll show you this one I've prepared earlier, like Blue Peter. Slide that underneath your knees, and you could just use a rolled up towel, a couple of towels, or an extra yoga mat. And then you might want again just to pick your head up in your hands, drop your chin down, relax your shoulders, your arms can be down beside you, or they can be resting on your abdomen. If you would like to continue the inversion, then just slide the bolster or the cushions underneath your bottom. So you're doing bridge pose, but you're completely supported, your thighs and your legs aren't having to work. So that's another option. You could have the arms out to the side or up above you. And of course, if you wanted to, for the next few minutes while we're doing a little bit more relaxation and then some breathing, is you could go back and put your legs up the wall with a cushion underneath your bottom. So I'm going to get you to find the position that's going to work for you for the next 15 minutes or so. And it may be that you've chosen to continue the inversion of the bolster under your bottom or a cushion, or your legs up the wall, or you're just lying on your back. So, we have looked at the yoga poses that are said to be able to help move the lymph around. So there are various things that you can do to improve the functioning of your lymphatic system naturally. And the first one on the list is exercise. So it doesn't have to be yoga. You know, a walk is fantastic, but just make sure that you try and invert the body. And there was a dear yoga teacher called Taya Portion who lived to 101. She was still teaching yoga at 100 and ballroom dancing. And a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, Anna Lee, went to a workshop that she ran in London probably 6 or 7 years ago, maybe slightly longer than that. And at the end, so Taya, who was in her late 90s then, said, any questions? And Anna Lee put her hand up and said, how on earth do you still teach yoga? How are you so fit and so amazing at 95, 96? And she said, it's very simple, dear. You just turn the body upside down once a day. So I'm going to take a leaf out of that book. I'm actually 97, but I just look 57 because I try and turn myself upside down once a day. But joking apart, there's nothing to lose, is there? Even if it's something as simple as lying up, the legs up the wall with a cushion underneath your bottom, you're still allowing the body to drain in the opposite direction. You are doing your anti-gravity manoeuvre. So the other areas that you can look at in terms of improving your lymphatic system as you just lay here and relax, drinking plenty of clean water. I know it's a nag, but drinking water is crucial to every aspect of your health, including your lymphatic system. Dehydration makes it very difficult for anything to move, let alone the lymph around your body. Spread it out during the day. You know, 8 glasses is a good amount. There is a little recommendation here of half your body weight in ounces per day. I'm not even sure how I would work that out. But as a bonus, you could add a squirt of lemon juice or some of the lemon rind, as long as it's organic, into the water, and that will help. That's an all-round lymph detoxer. And then obviously diet. We know we are what we eat, and eating healthily produces less waste for our lymphatic system to have to deal with. So anything that's high in salt, sugar and preservatives is going to make the lymph system even more congested. A period of fasting or cleansing is often recommended as well, and Dr. Michael Mosley has written some fantastic books on fasting, and I suggest that you look him up. Anti-inflammatory foods that won't put your body into that state of arousal, of inflammation, oh my gosh, I have to deal with it, my immune system is on alert. Leafy greens, healthy fats, ginger, citrus fruits, flaxseed and garlic, these are all on your handout. High fibre foods, low sugar foods, particularly anything with high fructose corn syrup, which basically is in every processed biscuit, cake, sweet food that you would buy. Herbs. There are some very popular herbs used to naturally purify your lymphatic system. One of them you probably already know if you think about it, and that's dandelion. There is that old wives' tale of don't pick the dandelions, dear, you'll wet the bed. Well, it's true, dandelion is a diuretic, so it encourages fluids to leave the body. So it's a great lymphatic cleanser. You would use the leaves rather than the roots. You can eat the leaves in a salad, as long as you've washed them. Burdock root is another one, so think of dandelion and burdock, the drink. There is also astragalus root, which you can get in a tincture. That's a very ancient Chinese medicine.
The burdock root is more an Asian medicine. And then there's slippery elm bark, which is a native North American medicine. It's used not only in cleansing the lymphatic system, but it's also very good for nausea in pregnancy, so for morning sickness or anything to do with the digestive system, the stomach and stomach ulcers, that kind of thing. So those are all detailed in your handout. And then there is massage. So you can self-lymphatic massage, and I've sent you a link, I will send you a link to options on how to do that. You can use acupressure points to stimulate the lymphatic system, you know, the ones we've already done, the thymus gland and the elegant mansion and the spleen points. Or you can book yourself for a lymphatic massage from a qualified practitioner. Aromatherapy oils are very useful as well in terms of allowing the lymphatic system to function more effectively. And you have a little relevant website to look at on aromatherapy in the lymphatic system, and then you have a handout on, you know, a good few, I think there's 15 or 20 essential oils on there, and all their different uses, precautions, prohibitions, etc., and what their benefits are. And then the last thing is really breathing. Can you believe it? We did a lot on breathing last week. We looked at the importance of the respiratory system, but actually don't underestimate the power of breathing to help deblock, unsludge your lymphatic system. So, you know, your breath is a form of energy, it's going to get everything moving around your body. So we're going to focus for the last few minutes here on some deep, restorative, conscious breathing. So if you haven't closed your eyes, please do so. Allow your body to really release and soften towards the floor. Let go of any residual tension that is hanging on there within your system, within your muscles, within your bones, within your tendons and your ligaments and your connective tissue. Just let everything slowly release. And visualize that amazing lymphatic system that you have, how marvelous it is and how clever it is to keep your body in a state of homeostasis. If anything enters your body, and it normally does through the nose or the mouth, then your lymphatic system will deal with that, but you have to keep the lymph moving. So start to focus on your exhalation. Allow your exhalation to become a little deeper, a little softer, a little slower. At the end of that exhalation, feel that sense of complete release. Have a pause for a moment and then invite the inhalation in. Feel the energy that the inhalation can give you, and allow that energy to move into the parts of your body that need awakening, that need revitalizing. Maybe you want a little pause after your inhalation, but you're going to go back again to the power of that exhalation, that softening, that releasing, that letting go. And if you allow that exhale to deepen and slow, and you are squeezing all of those little bits out of your cells, all the toxins, anything that needs to leave, going into that lymphatic system, and when you come back to movement a bit later, it'll move through the glands and the nose and allow it to do its job. So the inhale is light, but it's energizing. The exhale is releasing tension, releasing the toxins, giving the body the chance to do what it knows how to do, recreate homeostasis. If your mind wanders, draw it back. Listen to that intuitive healing power that your body has. We know this to be true. If you cut something, a part of your body, it automatically will heal. Providing you keep infection out, providing your immune system is strong enough, you keep it clean, your body will repair that itself. It's a marvellous piece of kit. You've worn it for many years now. Start to get to know it a little better. Allow yourself to breathe. Just be. That beautiful, deep, slow, relaxed exhalation. That little pause. And then that inhalation, the invitation to draw energy back in, to replenish, to revitalize, to restore. very slowly and very gently, bring your awareness back into the room, into the body. Thinking again about all those little movements that you can make now that you know how important it is to keep all of those lymph nodes active, all of those lymph glands working, to allow the lymph to flow. Circling the wrists and the elbows, the shoulders, stretching the arms above your head, taking the arms behind you, inverting the body, either head down below the heart or legs above the heart. Take your time, either have a little flollop around, roll onto the right hand side, and take your time to come up into sitting. So thank you everybody for joining me for week 2. I will send the resources. There is a handout and with some web links. There is the handout on the acupressure points, a handout on aromatherapy, and a link to how to do a lymphatic massage. Any questions, please feed me back. And next week we will be looking at the digestive system and the importance of how that links into our immune system and the yoga poses that benefit our digestive system.